question comes from the line of Steve Wilson.
Hi, Karen. Pleasure to speak with you today.
Hi. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. I guess we'll start off with somewhat of an obvious question in that what has it meant to you personally to have had Kurt and now yourself make the jump over to TNA?
Oh, my gosh. That's going to be a long answer. It has actually meant everything. I'm sure everybody realizes the situation Kurt was in and being on the road over 300 days a year. And as I've told Dixie Carter and told everyone else, Dixie was an angel that was sent to my family. TNA has given Kurt his life back. He's healthier than he's ever been. Dixie is an amazing, amazing businesswoman, person, mother. She sets a great example for women out there. And it's also given me the opportunity that I can be home with my kids. I can also have a job, have my own career where I can have my kids with me. And Jeff Jarrett, on the other hand, is, I think, also an amazing person who has done something that in all of the years of other wrestling companies being in the business, you know, he walked away from something and didn't go crying back. He had bigger, whatever you want to call them, than pretty much everyone else in the business, and he created something for these other men and women that, you know, they have another place that they can go where they can pursue other opportunities and they can have a life and they can be happy, and the atmosphere there is just awesome.
Your next question comes from the line of Scott Fishman.
Hi, Karen. How's it going? Scott Fishman from the Morning Herald.
How are you?
Good, good. I was just curious, do you separate your personal relationship that you have with Kurt and your marriage and, you know, father and all that with the professional in the ring when you guys are actually working?
Definitely. I think you have to have, you know, two different lives that you're living. Obviously, one of the problems is with Kurt is he's always thinking about business. He's always thinking about what he can do next, what he can do to make himself better. And I kind of have to bring him back to reality and say, listen, we're home, we're here with the kids, shut your phone off, you know, stop thinking for a little bit and just relax and enjoy yourself. And I think it's important that you do separate the two.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned how, you know, for 3 years you wanted Kurt to actually quit the business. So I was just curious on what made you actually decide to get involved and made you decide, oh, wait, I want to do this also.
You know, again, like I said, Dixie Carter and Jeff Jarrett, they couldn't be more amazing, amazing people. You know, when I talk about this company, I don't feel that there's even any words to describe or that are strong enough to describe what they have done for my family and for my husband. So, you know, it started out where it was just going to be, you know, a short little thing, and it turned into something else, and, you know, I love them. I love, you know, a lot of the other people that are working in the company, and they couldn't have been warmer and more welcoming to Kurt and his, you know, dreams and ambitions and his ideas. So, you know, it was just all the right things at the right time.
Mm-hmm. I know you have a softball background and all that, but I was just curious because you mentioned that you took 11 years off to take care of your kids, so I just want to know what your interests were and what you were actually doing at that time.
At that time, I was actually working in sales and also owned a nail salon, and part of the reason why I didn't move with Kurt when he signed with the WWE is we actually had custody of his great niece who lived with us for a few years. So even before I had children, I had a child. So that was my responsibility at the time.
Okay. If you could just describe how your character has evolved in working with AJ Styles and Jeremy Borash and all those humorous skits that you guys do, and then, can you do that for me? Thank you.
With JB, he couldn't be greater to work with. AJ, they're both very funny, very entertaining, and I think, you know, we haven't even tapped into where we can go with these storylines and with these characters, and you're just going to have to tune in. The next few months are probably going to be some of the best TNA shows you've ever seen.
Is there anyone that influences your character and how you became, you know, Karen Angle, the seductress, the woman that takes care of business?
No, you know what? Vince Russo, I think, is an incredible writer. He's very creative, and Kurt's pretty much let me do. He'll give me advice here or there when we're out at the ring, but he's let me come into my own and decide pretty much what I wanted to do with my character. But I would have to say Vince Russo definitely puts me in the direction, that he thinks Karen Angle needs to go, and it's working.
All right. One last question. I was just curious on how Kurt feels or his reaction when he saw you, because you've done those risque photo shoots like the other knockouts have done, and what does he think about other guys looking at you in that way?
It hasn't really, it's pretty much you're walking around a pool in a bathing suit, like other guys see you like that. His thing is why I don't wear stuff like that for him, why I'm always in sweats and T-shirts, and somebody else is getting the photographs in lingerie.
Right. All right, well, thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
You now have a follow-up question from the line of Steve Wilson.
Hello again.
Hi, Steve.
Mention was made of Kurt being involved in the Pros and Joes, and in relation to that, I remember a recent rumor, if you will, that there was talk of you possibly being featured in a reality TV show, and if there is any truth to that you could address that, and if not, would you ever like to be involved in some sort of reality show that shows your life right now and how the very interesting life that you lead?
There is truth to that, and I did go out a few months back, and I shot a pilot for VH1. It was called Greenhouse. I was offered a part on the show, but considering that it's a reality show and you would have to leave your family, I had to pass on that, and I had to turn that project down. So there was truth to that.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.